I just moved into a new house over the weekend. Paid the first month's rent. I signed a 1-year lease. The house was built in the 1930s. Although still livable, it has quite a few problems. The layout is weird. The porch isn't finished. Well, to be honest, the house is pretty run down, but I had to settle for it. When I saw this house online, I immediately dialed the landlord's phone number, asking if I could view the place that day or any other day during the week. From the very start of talking to the landlord, I got a really bad feeling about him. Not exactly creepy, but definitely very annoying. We agreed to meet on Saturday. He would show me the house. But before that, he kept sending me several texts every day, constantly confirming, "Are you sure you're coming to see the house? I don't want to waste my time." I repeatedly reassured him, I live only 5 minutes away. And I'd definitely come on Saturday. I should mention, I was looking for this house for myself and my father, who uses a wheelchair. When we arrived, the landlord was standing in the yard with a big smile on his face. I waved to greet him, then walked around to the passenger side, helped my father out of the car and into his wheelchair. The landlord's face immediately turned into a frown. As we approached him, my dad reached out for a handshake, but he just looked at me and said, "I thought it was just you." Completely ignoring my father, I awkwardly tried to explain, since he never asked. I hadn't specifically mentioned it. Then he showed us the house. Although old and shabby, it was still livable, so we paid the deposit. Everything seemed fine. We moved in over the weekend and paid the rent on the 6th. The landlord told me he needed to come in today for some plumbing repairs. I said no problem, but I had to go to work. I told him I'd leave the key on the door. I usually finish work around 12:30. Around 10 he texted me again. Because of safety concerns, he wanted me to confirm if I really wouldn't be home before 12:30. I said yes, I'd be back after 12:30. But actually that day I left work early. I came home at 11. I thought I'd just go in and say hello, let him know I was back, then stay out of his way while he worked. Remember I said the house layout was strange. The front door opened directly into my bedroom. To the left was another door into the living room. The living room connected to the kitchen, back rooms, and the bathroom. I turned the doorknob and found it unlocked. When I walked inside, the first thing I saw was the landlord sprinting out of my bedroom, through the living room, the back room of the kitchen, and out the back door. Then I saw his car speeding out of my driveway. I felt strange and went back to my bedroom, found my underwear drawer open. Things scattered everywhere. My nightstand was open too. I didn't know what to do, because I couldn't move out right now. Due to credit history issues, it's hard for me to find housing, not to mention one that's wheelchair accessible. I never imagined my landlord would be this awful. But back to reality, I still had to endure this for 12 months. Just the thought of it is terrifying. Update: a lot has happened over the past few days, but I can't give too many details, because my lawyer advised me not to. But what I can say is, I took your advice. Bought a night vision and motion detection camera. It's been very useful to me, because I recorded my landlord coming to my house at 2 a.m., trying to peek into my windows. We weren't home at the time. With that video, my lawyer assured me things will work out in my favor. I'm also applying for disability benefits for my father. Several kind people in my area even offered me housing. I can't put into words how grateful I am to all of you, even though I had a horrible landlord. At the same time, I also met kind people like you. Thank you so much. Do you have that kind of friend? Back in high school, it was always fun hanging out with him. But after graduation, you never stayed in touch. Xiaolei was that kind of friend. After graduation, we never contacted each other again, even at the 10-year reunion. We didn't hang out together. Then suddenly one day, I received a letter from Xiaolei. I didn't even know how he got my address. Since I had moved several times after graduation, it really surprised me to reconnect after so many years. And the content of the letter made me feel he finally changed. The letter said, "Xiaohan, I want to go on a trip with you. When we were kids we always said, we'd go fishing at your grandpa's, hunting, but we never actually did it. The doctor said I don't have many birthdays left. I don't want to have regrets. My wife and I are getting ready to pack and go on the trip we always talked about. Would you like to join us?" My wife had no objection. Considering his health condition, I felt I should go. Honestly, if I refused, I'd feel guilty for the rest of my life. The letter had a phone number written on it. So I sent a text message to Xiaolei. We agreed to go together next week. I was very nervous. I didn't know if I had made the right choice. Especially when we finally met at the gas station outside town. At that moment, he drove over. His car was full of recording and hunting gear. And he was dressed in full camouflage. His wife looked very excited. Despite Xiaolei's condition, his smile couldn't be hidden. Maybe because of the chemotherapy. He had shaved his head. He jumped out of the car and hugged me. "Xiaoxi, what did I tell you? I knew Xiaohan would come." He was very strong. You couldn't even tell he was battling illness. He asked why my wife didn't come. I said she had to work. I went on to say, he said we just have to make do with what we had. I was happy that after all this time without contact, it wasn't awkward between us at all. It felt like no time had passed. We were still just two silly kids. That felt really good. Xiaolei wasn't very good at hunting, but we were sure to catch something. I really didn't want this trip to be a waste of time. As we entered the woods, Xiaolei said it was good we weren't deer hunting. I asked him what our prey was then. He just winked and said he had a surprise for me. "Xiaohan, I'm so glad you came." While hiking, he said we had gone deep into the forest. Xiaoxi and Xiaolei didn't speak for almost an hour. Then it started to rain. It was hard to track animals anymore. So, we rested under a tree. "Well, looks like the plan isn't going smoothly," Xiaolei said. "What plan?" "We've already walked so far. Brother. Still not going to tell me what the surprise is?" "Well, all right then," he said calmly. "Never forget the distance. Wait and see when the storm will stop." Then I heard a loud bang. I fell to the ground covering my ears. Turning around I saw Xiaolei had just fired a shot into his wife's head. Her whole face was blown apart. She died quickly, without pain. What Xiaolei did shocked and terrified me. I almost screamed. I only have a few weeks left. I've been planning this for a while. Actually, I brought you here for something else, he said, kicking his wife's body aside. Then he handed me the gun. With one bullet left inside. I don't want chemo anymore. I don't want to waste money on useless treatments. I don't want to suffer anymore. This is my final wish. I understood why he did this. I looked at the gun and his wife's body. My mouth went dry. I wanted to run. He was sick. He definitely couldn't catch me. But for some reason, I thought maybe I should try talking to him. "Xiaolei, why did you kill your wife?" I tried hard not to sound scared. I wanted to understand why he suddenly became a cold-blooded killer. Yes, she was the love of my life. But I can't accept her living on without me. That's why I had to end her life. I won't allow her to abandon me and enjoy life alone, Xiaolei said, with a crazed expression. Then why choose me? If I do this, I could end up in prison. Why are you punishing me like this? Xiaolei laughed. I know you think I'm worthless. You've always thought that way. I've done so many bad things, but you were always the good kid in everyone's eyes. It's time you paid the price. Because so many times when I was in trouble, you were with me. But you were never blamed. Teachers, parents, they always thought you were just an innocent victim. He roared. If I refuse, have you thought that I could call the police right now? He calmly said, you could do that. But I've thought it through. I could kill you too. And die here in the woods. I'm the one holding the gun, I said. Then he took off his camouflage. And I saw a bomb strapped to his waist. If you shoot anywhere other than my head, this thing will explode. Or I could just grab you. And we both go down in glory together. Even though it was cold, I was drenched in sweat. I wanted to run like I first planned. But I knew if I did that, he might trigger the bomb and kill me. I was trapped in the middle of nowhere, with a madman. Xiaolei, I don't want to do this. I looked at the gun, and aimed it at him, feeling more anxious. You've always hated me. This is where your darkest fantasy comes true. Do it. He shouted. I was ready to shoot. But then I heard a noise on the left. 2 hunters emerged from the woods, looking at us in confusion and shock. Xiaolei thought he could scare them off quickly with the bomb. But I had other plans. I aimed the gun at the first hunter and shot him in the foot. He fell to the ground. The second hunter shot at me in self-defense. I dodged it. The bullet hit Xiaolei's shoulder. He fell to the ground. He was about to kill us all with a bomb. I shouted for the 2 hunters to run. Taking advantage of that brief moment, I jumped toward the hunter who had injured me. The explosion sent body parts flying everywhere. Blood poured down from the sky. I covered my face. When everything finally settled, aside from a smoking crater, he had left nothing behind. When we returned to the footpath, I asked the hunters to hand me over to the US police. They testified in court about what they knew. Fortunately, they knew I was forced. That spared me from prison. Xiaolei used to be my friend, but now he was dead. I couldn't help but feel that his final act was purely to cause me more trouble. Hello everyone, I just remembered a story that happened 10 years ago. This story took place when I was in my first year of high school. At that time, I was 13, introverted, kept to myself. Because my mom was very controlling, she didn't allow me to socialize outside school. But I made a friend in my grade. He was a year older than me. He quickly became my best friend in early high school. Let's call him Xiaolei. Even though we were still young, I really admired Xiaolei. He was confident. He seemed to have more life experience than me. For me at that time, this was almost incomprehensible. He also drank alcohol. Those two things were both frightening and fascinating to me. Being with him made me feel like I could handle high school life and do pretty well. Xiaolei lived about a half-hour drive from the city in a remote suburb area. For some strange reason, my mom finally agreed to let me attend a sleepover. Maybe because it was school holidays at the time. I remember it was either Friday or Saturday night. My parents might have been going out on a date too. I was so excited. Finally, I could go out and do something fun. Xiaolei told me he had also invited another close friend, Xiaoka. Xiaoka had somehow gotten a bottle of vodka. The first half of the night was easygoing and fun. We drank, chatted, and joked around in his room. I thought it was so cool. because Xiaoli's mom knew we were drinking. They had a close and open relationship. Xiaoli's mom knew that teenagers would eventually want to try certain things, so she thought it was better to do it under supervision and in a safe environment. However, later that night, things started to go wrong. Because of the alcohol, we started getting a little loud. Although Xiaoli's mom was open-minded, she had to work early the next morning, so she asked us to move the little party to the backyard. Because their rooms were next to each other, the noise would be too loud. We all agreed. But when we got to the backyard, we quickly realized that Xiaoli and Xiaoka didn't plan to just stay in the backyard. They wanted to go hang out at a nearby park. So we set off. The park was about a 5-minute walk from Xiaoli's house. I clearly remember there were no streetlights in that area. It was pitch dark everywhere. And since it wasn't a very wealthy neighborhood, it already had a strange, eerie atmosphere. But I was still young, a little drunk, and naive. So I thought swinging on a swing while drunk felt pretty good. We arrived at the park, hung around the playground, stayed for about 10 to 15 minutes. I just remember feeling an intense sense of unease inside, like something terrible was about to happen. We thought it was just us, but that was not the case. Less than 2 minutes later, I saw 2 figures stand up from a picnic table on the other side of the park and start walking toward us. Keep in mind it was very dark at the time, so I had no idea how long they had been sitting there. But since I didn't notice them arrive, they might have been there before us. They weren't in a hurry, just strolling casually toward us. I told Xiaoli and Xiaoko that someone was walking toward us and suggested we head back to Xiaoli's house. At first they didn't agree, but considering we were 13 and had been drinking, wandering around the park at midnight could get us caught. They eventually agreed. We went back onto the sidewalk, and those 2 people followed us. They quickly closed the distance between us. The closer they got, the clearer I could see their outlines. They were 2 adult men. I told Xiaoli and Xiaoko that we were being followed, so we picked up our pace, and so did they. We were terrified. I could feel it. My instincts were screaming at me again. I tried to walk as fast as possible, without breaking into a run, afraid that if we started running, it would confirm the worst-case scenario, that they really were chasing us. I heard a car coming up behind us. For a moment I felt relieved, because if someone saw, they wouldn't dare do anything. I turned around trying to get the car's attention. It was very close to me now, but the feeling of relief quickly turned into fear. Shouting came from inside the car. It sounded like several people were in there. The voices were shouting at the 2 men behind us. Before I could react, those 2 men charged at us at full speed. I started running for my life too, screaming hysterically, telling Xiaoli and Xiaoko to run too. I was terrified. The fear sobered me instantly. The alcohol was gone. Those 2 men were right on our heels, and the car was driving alongside us. The people inside were shouting something, but I can't remember at all. I remember Xiaoli somehow caught up with me and ran to the side of a house. Xiaoko and I followed him over the backyard fence and jumped into the neighbor's yard, which turned out to be Xiaoli's house. We hid in the bushes, listening to them searching for us in the next yard. They even broke some things. A few minutes later, I guess they gave up and all piled back into the car. Then we heard the car drive away. After that I never dared go out at night again. Everyone, please be careful when going out at night and stay alert.